right, guys, welcome to Tinfoil Hat live from the WiseWolf Gold and Silver Studios. That's right. Wolfpack Gold. Just go to samtripoli.gold, use promo code Tinfoil, and you too can get in the Precious Metals game for as little as $50 a month. Very excited. We are within, what is this? This is 994. 6 away from the big 1,000th. You'd think we'd worked on something yet, but no, not this group. But very excited. Hope you can make it to Austin. People are like, I can't get tickets. People drop out. You just got to wait and hope and pray. But that's business out of the way. Very excited. Oh, real quick, I'm going to be in La Jolla this weekend. The only reason I haven't promoted it because I've been so busy. But this weekend, Friday, Saturday night, I am in La Jolla, California at the 50th anniversary of the La Jolla Comedy Store. Honored that they asked me to do it. Hope to see you there. Very excited to have this guest on today. He's been on before. He's got some of the best content on YouTube. His clips pop up all the time. He is a YouTuber, and he is constantly going deep into the elite pedophile rings, and we're honored to have him. Please welcome the one, the only, Shaun Attwood. How are you, brother?
Oh, man, it's a heat wave here, but Prince Andrew's balls are on hot coals right now. It's just relentless, the news about him over here. Not only the allegations against Virginia, which we could get into, the orgy on the island one in particular, that the mainstream are not reporting on, but now he's been arrested for selling secrets to Epstein. There's an investigation. There was an allegation this week that at the Queen's Jubilee that he did something inappropriate, and every week on and on and on it goes. And if you saw his face in the car outside the cop shop when he came out,
crazy. Yeah. I should put that on a t-shirt. Real quick, Shaun, before we get into all that, you're biting at the bit, and I'm excited to talk to you about it. It's always a pleasure. Real quick, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you?
Yeah, so all my socials, I've written 19 books, my channel, everything are under my name, S-H-A-U-N, Shaun Attwood, A-T-T Wood. I'll send you my link tree if you want to put that in the description. I've written a series of books exposing predators, royal predators, elite predators, Epstein, etc., the Clinton crime family, the Bush crime family, and on it goes.
What is really crazy to me, Shaun, is how Europe seems to be taking way more action than America, and it's gotten to the point now where have you guys seen this? The American judicial system is letting these pedos out early. One guy got busted sexually assaulting like a 8-year-old boy. He did 30 days in jail, and then they let him out.
What is it, mental health grounds or something?
I don't know what it is, but we are in a Bolshevik revolution in America. They are trying their hardest to collapse the system. And the best way to collapse the system is to get it so people have no trust in the system and to release all the crazy so no one feels safe. So we beg for martial law. That is in full motion right now. It is not even... They're not even trying to hide it. And how about this? And then I'll bring you back in, Shaun. But so this one particular judge in Nevada, this dual citizenship Israeli, is released. She sent the guy who got busted trying to meet a boy in a pedo sting. She released him back to Israel, and she just released the Israeli that got caught with biolabs in Vegas. She just released him back to Israel.
That's great.
Unbelievable.
Isn't there like a minimal sentencing for some of this bullshit? Shouldn't there be like at least 5?
You should get at least 5 for running a bio lab in the desert in Nevada. Yeah, I agree.
But isn't it crazy? It's just like but going back to my initial point, Shaun, is that it just seems like Europe is taking this a lot more serious. More people are stepping down. More people are being arrested. Nobody's being arrested out here. What are your thoughts on why that is happening?
So judicial systems across the world love pedophiles. I've interviewed a lot of survivors, and one guy, he was going to get sentenced for a crime. They switched the judge on him at the last minute. He was expecting to get like 5 to 10 years, and the judge that they switched him to was a judge who'd buggered him as a child, and the judge ended up giving him 20 plus years. Whoa. So they give slaps on the wrists to these rapists, chomos, sex offenders. When I was incarcerated, there was a thing called convict justice in the general population in Arizona. They want to do your paperwork as soon as you walk in, and they're asking you, let me read your paperwork. And if you've got any crimes of that nature on your paperwork, it's KOS, kill on sight. So do you think the Queen's favourite son, Prince Andrew, is ever going to get extradited to the States and end up in the general population prison yard with the Aryan Brotherhood prison gang facing some convict justice? No, he's not. We have seen the arrest of him, and that people are applauding that, but all they did was threw some red meat to the public because the situation heated up so much. More and more revelations are coming about Andrew every single week, and what they do is they wait until these things die down. Like with Maxwell, she gets this big sentence, and I said the day she was sentenced, she will kick down some money to a high court judge, some backsheesh, and she'll get Bill Cosby'd out early. And what did we see happened? She's already been put in a soft prison with the puppy program. They're lining her up for early release. This is how sneaky these elites are. When the heat is on in the media, they pretend to do something about it to shut the public up, but as soon as it quietens down, they let these people out early so they can commit more crimes. They don't give a crap about the survivors. I interviewed Epstein victim number 1. She was in the same room as Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi was like a gargoyle, wouldn't even look her in the face. You'd think this woman who's been through all the files and understood the plight of the survivors would say, look, props to you guys, you're brave, keep up the good work. Wouldn't even give them the time of day. They are careerists, egoists, narcissists, and paedophile enablers or participants in these evil acts. A lot of them.
My favorite thing is how everyone is trying to convince you that Pam Bondi is John Benet Ramsey. Have you ever seen that?
That's great.
So now it's come out that Pam Bondi has turbo cancer or some shit like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's just announced that. And who knows if that's real, if that's sympathetic, trying to get some, everyone to feel bad for her.
Maybe trying to get her to Valhalla.
Or trying to get rid of her because she knows everything. Because what people need to understand is Pam Bondi is the AG that gave Epstein the sweetheart deal in Florida. That's why she got promoted. It's like 9/11 where everyone was in control of air traffic, completely botched it, mistakes are made, or they went according to plan, and they all got promoted. It's the same exact thing. But there seems to be in Europe, maybe because of the history of revolution after revolution, less tolerance of the elites. I'm not expecting anything to happen to Prince Andrew. He's like one of the elites of the elites. But I just feel like you guys are dealing with this way better than we are. I don't know why, but it just seems you put up with less shit than we do.
Well, if you've got less influence than Prince Andrew, they just wipe you out. Look at Jean-Luc Brunel. He was the second in charge procurer after Maxwell. He was arrested in France. He's in the French prison, and he gets suicided in the exact same manner as Jeffrey Epstein. No autopsy there, no information given to the public there. They don't give an F in France. They just snuff you out right away. So he knew a lot about what was going on in Europe with the elites, and we'll never get to hear that, just like we won't get to hear what Jeffrey do. And I did correspond with Jeffrey's cellmate, Nicholas Tartaglione, the cop, who murdered all those people. And I said, there might be a quid pro quo back then where they would reduce his sentence from the death penalty, and they'd let him out, a bit earlier if for doing the deed on Jeffrey. And Jeffrey even appeared in court and said that Tartaglione had made an attempt on him. Whether they let Tartaglione back in after they moved him out to finish the job, who knows?
And there's so much if you break down, Jeffrey Epstein's behavior in Florida after he was convicted. He didn't change anything. He was moving all he wants. He wasn't checking in. He had chauffeurs bring girls to him. He would bang them in the car in I don't want to say federal buildings, but in places he shouldn't be doing it. And so then the whole thing with Trump happens, which is such an interesting dynamic because, Trump is credited with kicking a lot of this off. The whole thing was that they want to expose how much money he really didn't have. He was actually paper rich, cash poor. And like, you know, his ego is so big that he kind of kicked off this war with Epstein, but then Epstein is kind of what is taking him out at the same time. It's like, in a weird way, watch what you wish for in a weird kind of way by starting this whole thing.
Yeah, we interviewed one of the cops actually from the Florida Police Department, Joe Mark Duggan, and he said his colleague Joseph Ricari, when they raided Epstein's property, they knew if they gave the evidence to their superiors, it was just going to be invisibilized. So they made copies of it. Joseph Ricari died mysteriously in his 50s. I don't know if it was the turbo cancer he referenced earlier. And then John Mark Duggan, he got raided, and he got so scared he went on the run in Russia, where he is to this day. So the lower down cops who were well-meaning, who knew we got this evidence, we gathered it, we're going to give it our superiors, they knew they were fucked. And this is how the elites hold everything down, so we never see the full disclosure of what's happened here. And it's the donor class, isn't it? Democrats, Republicans, donor class holds the purse strings. So whether it's Bill Gates kicking down money to both sides, Richard Branson, you know, these guys they revealed a little bit of them in the latest release. But imagine what they're not telling us in all these files they still haven't released yet. So no matter what politician gets in power, they're going to bow down to the donor class. And then you've got the intelligence agencies, the enforcement arm of that. So if anyone gets out of line, they're going to get whacked.
Yeah, I don't even know why we consider them intelligence companies. They're just basically private security for the elites to clean up any mess and also destabilize any area they want to go in and basically steal all the natural resources. They're literally attack dogs for the elites. We've seen the FBI cover up multiple pedophile rings, whether it's the Franklin scandal, whether it's the Finders. I mean, it's so crazy how it is both sides of the aisle. You know, this notion, it's so crazy how the Democrats in America didn't give a shit about pedophiles until, you know, Trump was associated with it. Now they just completely talk about Trump. They don't talk about their side. When I think it was 2019, Hillary Clinton had 4 to 5, I think it's 4, it might be 5, different associates on trial for child sex trafficking. I mean, it is absolutely insanity because that action of committing crimes against children is the initiation into the highest levels of power. It is almost like gang jump-ins. You got to kill somebody so that we have something on you because you'll have something on us. So that's kind of how it works. So this is the crime, the worst crime of all crimes. And it's super interesting to me because I don't know if you have this across the pond, Shaun, but we have pedo hunters on the internet, and they're doing great jobs. I'm not saying that what they're doing is wrong. It's really good work, but it's like these are all low-level guys, and it also gives the illusion of that they're doing something against pedophiles. Well, you're just arresting broke pedophiles. That's really people who live with their parents still and all this shit. I'm going to say something that people may not agree with. Most of them seem to be on the spectrum. They don't really have a lot of social skills. Not saying what they're doing is okay, but it's like super low-hanging fruit. And, you know, these are the guys that get 10 years. These are the guys that get the big ones. And then, you know, the actual elites, the judges throw out the case and do all that. Is definitely 2 tiers of justice. And it's crazy. Do they have pedophile hunters in England? Like, they're just giant YouTube channels in LA.
They're huge.
Yeah, we've got loads of pedophile hunters here, and there's been all kinds of problems with the law over them. And I've done collaborations with Chris Hansen, who was a pioneer of this. Is To Catch a Predator, did some brilliant work, billions of views on his stuff. Going back to what you said earlier, though, I believe through my research, to get to the top of politics, you've got to be compromised. Whether it's Trump, you know, in the changing rooms at the beauty pageants with Epstein doing God knows what, or Clinton. You know, Clinton managed to parlay his association with the Bush crime family and the CIA into the White House. They picked the Arkansas to do the drug drops, Mena, etc., Barry Seal, because Bill Clinton was the sleaziest, most corrupt governor in all of the states. I mean, he was going around coked up, frenzied, raping women. Hillary would find out where these women lived, and their pets would be murdered, people would be thrown off balconies, etc. There was nothing going to stop their rise to power. He had a penchant for going out with plus-sized ladies of the night who were ladies of color who would humiliate his shrunken coke dick. All of this stuff. And, this isn't out the clear blue. I'm getting all of these accounts from his security, his state troopers, the ones who are still alive who are not hashtag Clinton body count, the guys who bodyguarded him. They give all of these accounts of how ruthless, evil, and depraved the Clintons were.
I talked about this on Joe Rogan's podcast, but Don the hypnotist has worked with people who were part of Hillary Clinton's security detail, and they said the things that they saw her do was this unspeakable. Children will go in the room and never come out. It's just, and this inability to understand that, and the way we project our views of our mothers and our fathers and our brothers and our sisters onto people we don't know. And that's how we compartmentalize what they're doing. My mom wouldn't do that. Hillary wouldn't do that. You're like, I mean, just in the world of like entertainment, the level of psychopath you have to be to make it to that fucking level. Like some people walk through it and other people's just lie, cheat, steal, and stab to get there. And just imagine politics and how dirty that shit is. It's like a dirty game, dude.
But she's doing it for women's rights.
Yeah.
All the women who ended up in cages when Libya became the human trafficking capital of the world. What about all the women who Bill Clinton essayed and raped and signed NDAs, the women that Trump bought when he was debating Hillary, who couldn't say anything, but they all sat there stirring Hillary down. They don't give a crap about human rights. All they care about is their own self-aggrandizement and power plays.
Regardless of your religion or whatever it is, but at the very top, they look at us like cattle.
Oh, yeah.
They think we're basically cattle. The way I say it all the time, but the way Joe Rogan talks about hunting elk is how these elites look at us. They're doing us a favor. They're taking us out, treating us. That's why, the IDF and the way they film their crimes, it's like, because they literally look at us like we're freaking cattle, dude. That's it. That's why they spray the skies with poison. That's why they poison our food. That's why our culture is poisoned. It's literally like it's thinning the herd. It's cutting the grass. That's exactly what they do. And like our children are their fodder, and they just don't care. They just do not care. So let's get into what some of the things you wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about you want to get into Prince Andrew and him on the island. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, because, we all hear about the famous photo of Andrew and Virginia. And I even went to that property and filmed at it like 6 years ago, which ended up putting me in the Epstein files. But what the mainstream media never report on is the third allegation that Virginia made against Andrew. And that was on the island. And she said they were at a swimming pool naked. It was an orgy. There was Andrew, Maxwell, Epstein, and Jean-Luc Brunel. Jean-Luc Brunel, Epstein boasted he slept with over 1,000 girls through the Jean-Luc Brunel pipeline. The feds were fast-tracking these women in with visas into the pipeline. U.S. government totally in on it, as usual. And Epstein even boasted that Jean-Luc Brunel had given him 12-year-old triplets as a birthday gift, and he commended them on their oral sex skills. So Virginia said that they were all joking around, saying all these depraved things, and a lot of the girls in there looked underage that were in the swimming pool. East European girls couldn't even speak English, and the predators were joking they were the easiest ones to do these horrific things to, because they don't speak English, and what they're going to do about it. And it's true, because we've heard English-speaking women that were survivors speak out. But can you imagine all the girls that they got from these poor countries? They went up to their families and said, well, we're going to make you a model. Come with us. You're going to live a life of luxury, glitz, glamour, etc. And then did these girls go missing? Who's even going to know about them? How many of them have been unalived? It's sickening. I interviewed Juliet Bryant. She's out of South Africa. She was a teenager when they procured her into the mix. And she was flying around with Bill Clinton, Maxwell, Kevin Spacey, Epstein across Africa. And they were going across Africa because they were doing all these charitable deeds while they were raping her behind the scenes. So they used this cloak of charity, Clinton Foundation, classic example, while they go around, and their true agenda is just to destroy young people's lives. They're terrorizing them, they're feeding off their energy, the loosh. And it goes all the way to things like the cult of Baal. I had a guest on today who really broke it down about the human sacrifice side of that, whereby they get the children, they're really terrified, and it's at that point where they're most terrified, they extract the most energy from them. But the god Baal, if you go back to the beginning of it, he wanted the community to sacrifice their children so that the crops would grow and they wouldn't starve and they wouldn't get raided by rival tribes and all that. And they were adjusted back then to believe they were doing the right thing by giving their own kids up to these practices. And even when they tried to buy other kids to do it with, or breed specifically to have these sacrifices, then the priests ruled that because the sacrifices weren't as great, Baal was displeased, and you must go back to giving your own kids up. And even the elite kids, it's even more beneficial to sacrifice their kids. So this is, thousands of years ago, but this has evolved over the ages. We've seen Moloch, we've seen Bohemian Grove, and we suspect, look at the Epstein files, we've got the bank account Baal, that these practices were committed by these elites. There's cannibalism, we saw in the files, talking about shrimp, jerky, pizza, all of that kind of stuff. So you can imagine behind the scenes how bad this is, just from what we know now. But can you imagine what we don't actually know, what we can only imagine?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So I'm in this weird chat. It's not weird, it's great, but it's deep, dude. It's called Sam Tripoli TP USA. And I had to fight to get into a group that is just was named after me, and they finally brought me in, because Kurt didn't have any clue how to add people. And bro, this thing goes so deep. It's like I have to Google stuff just to understand what they're talking about. And they've been talking about how, even way before Abraham, dude, way before the Abrahamic religions, we have this weird thing where we kind of look at the past. We either look at them as dumb cavemen, or if you believe in hidden history, that they were super duper technology and all this stuff that was wiped away by a flood and stuff like that. But if you really, you study it, way back in the day, everything was about sacrifice and sacrificing to children. So what I've always, and they were basically talking about how these elite death cults just took over these religions, that they started out as one thing, and then through cloak, they kind of came in and took it over and veered it more towards this dark side of child sacrifice and animal sacrifice and child sacrifice. And it's they were doing that way back in the day too, sacrificing to gods. It's insane to me. And now you see that, and I've been saying this forever, it's all Babylonian. And at the end of the day, the old gods want to come out and play. They're tired of sitting in the background. They want to be worshipped. They want sacrifice. And that's this kind of push now in front of everybody. And even to the point of what are you going to do about it?
No, it's because if the elites for thousands of years have thought that that's how you get power, why would you all of a sudden stop?
Why? Yeah, 100%.
Why would you just stop? Why would you just give up what everyone's been telling you, what every elite's been telling you? If you do this, you get these powers. Why would you stop? And the
access to power, too. I mean, you brought up the European girls, the Hadi sisters, right? I think that's their names, the Palestinian supermodel sisters have been coming out against Israel. But they're in the Epstein files as being the most willing and submissive. They would talk about, backdoor action with them. This is to say nicely, but they were totally down with all that. And it's how do you get to the highest levels of power? It's these Victoria's Secret models. Yeah, they're the most gorgeous girls on planet Earth, but do you think they're the only most gorgeous ones? Why are they in there, and why is this other girl not allowed to be a part of it? Well, I wouldn't doubt if those women allowed them to do insanely crazy shit to them.
Yeah, with the Baal worship, then the main method of sacrificing the babies was through fire. They would burn them alive, and the mothers weren't allowed to cry, otherwise it would cancel out the effects of sacrificing the babies. So in some circumstances they would have music playing to drown out the cries of the mothers. In other cases they would use knives and try and kill the babies before they burnt them. And you're right, about the hierarchy, because we interviewed a guy called Craig Lund, don't know if you had him on yet, Satanic Big Tech. He was in Silicon Valley and he rose up the ranks, and he said in the beginning he would go to the bar with the fellas, do the coke, the strippers, etc. And every time it was incremental what you were getting into, and he got to the top of it and he couldn't say what he did. He didn't want to incriminate himself, but he said the guys who were promoted in Silicon Valley were the guys who went all the way. So I've had to ask myself, what is the motivations of doing this stuff? And you've got this camaraderie, the bonding, we're all doing this stuff together, we're all compromised, but we can all go all the way with this. And you've also got the honey trap side of it, like with Epstein. Then you've got the guys who are just the pure psychopaths who are getting off on doing these most horrific things to kids, unaliving them even, and at that maximum point of anxiety for the child, that is what they are finding the most orgasmic. So there's all these different motivations we found out through our interviews that are causing these things to happen even in the present day.
Yeah, it is really, really crazy. I mean, if you take a look at OpenAI, right? Johnny, that was Sam Altman.
Yes.
Sam Altman. I mean, the man's accused of doing horrific stuff to his sister, and then one of their quote unquote whistleblowers turns out dead, and they say it's a homicide, and he just keeps getting more promoted. I mean, just keeps moving farther and farther up the power ranks and more secure. And if you just again, when we talk about all these famous people, how there's like a famous death in their family, somebody or in their band or whatever, somebody dies. Kanye talks about them sacrificing his mom, stuff like that. All this darkness leads to them being at the biggest, highest levels of their industry, and then you have the ones that just they'll transition their kids as a sacrifice in that way to the elites. Hey, look, I have Megan Fox has 3 trans kids. That's statistically impossible.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
It makes no sense at all. So it's a sacrifice of being able to eventually produce children. It's a sacrifice of your life. It's a sacrifice of children in one way or another to the highest levels of power, the highest levels of power. And even if you get into this war, Johnny, I owe Johnny an apology. Johnny very early on was like, something's off with this war. It doesn't really make sense. Are they really bombing Israel? Is Iran really bombing Israel? I see this video, 24-hour feed of Tel Aviv. Nothing's happening on it. There's nothing. You can't see anything going down. I'm like, whatever, Johnny. But more and more, I just start thinking that all the elites are in on it together.
You've raised some great points there. 2 emails came to mind then. So, they closed ranks in the beginning, like we saw with Epstein with the sweetheart deal with Acosta. And a classic example of that was the Richard Branson email, whereby he was proposing that Bill Gates come out and issue a statement saying Jeffrey's a great guy. Yeah, he's a horny guy. He had sex with a teenager. Big deal. Guys do that. And if Bill Gates has got his back, it'll all go away, and Epstein will be able to move on. So yeah, they totally close ranks until someone becomes such a liability they got to stuff them out. The other email that came to mind when you were speaking there was the email between Epstein and the top, I think he was like a molecular biologist or something, and they were talking about the creation of a hermaphrodite. They got a lab in the Ukraine where they're doing gene editing and all this stuff, and he was talking about having the best of both worlds sexually, secretly by creating this baby with both of these parts. And they said they've been watching, videos of hermaphrodites, how pleasing it is sexually to be like that. So they were all about trying to manufacture these babies for these purposes.
Fuck?
Yeah, and then the third thing you touched on there was Iran. Oh my goodness! I mean, if you go back to the 50s, where Iran had a democracy with Mossadegh, and it was the British Empire, the precursor for BP. Mossadegh nationalized oil, and the English were like, we're not having any of that. We're going to do a bit of regime change. And I think Mossadegh actually wrote to America saying that the British are twats. But I plead, I urge you from your humanitarian side to support what we're doing. But Alan Dulles stepped in, and it went all about regime change, and they just did exactly the same. It's the exact same script that they're doing today. They just foment rebels. They have agent provocateurs. They say that people want to be liberated. And then what did they do? They did the regime change. They put the Shah in charge, the King of Kings. And they were training his secret police to cut people's noses off and hang people up on meat hooks. The deep state does not give a shit about the people of Iran or any of these countries. They would rather mass murder the entire populations, bomb the crap out of them, make millions, billions for the military-industrial complex, rebuild it, make billions more for Halliburton, and everyone's collateral damage, like you say, the public are cattle. Dulles went on from Iran to Guatemala, hundreds of thousands dead in the killing fields of Guatemala. What, because of United Fruit for the Bush crime family? So yeah, it's all about telling the public a load of lies and executing people, bombing the poorest countries in the world, so corporations can squeeze even more money out of those countries while the poorest people are starving to death.
Guys, I gotta sing this song that I love to sing. Boners, boners, boners. Boners, boners, boners. What? Boners, boners, boners. That's right. Blue Chew Gold is the most rock on boners you ever see. That's right, Blue Chew Gold. All right, dude. Are you excited for rock hard boners? And you can get a mega bone. What's it called, Johnny? A
megalo penis.
A megalo penis. Do you want a megalo penis? Of course, we all do. And there's two ways to get it. God gives it to you, or Blue Chew Gold. Let me tell you about Blue Chew Gold. That's right. The future of erectile function is here. Blue Chew Gold is changing the way millions of men are having sex in 2026. Their new arousal boosting formula combines passion and performance into one tablet that dissolves under your tongue for super fast onset. Okay, no more waiting for the pill to kick in. Nuh-uh. Those days are done. No more moments ruled by performance anxiety. Just the results you want, which are angry, rock hard boners, veiny, beefy meat, dude. That's what we're looking for. When you want it, when you need it, Blue Chew Gold is the best for you. Most ED meds only focus on blood flow, but Blue Chew Gold goes further by combining 2 ingredients for blood flow and 2 for mental arousal and connection. So you're not just physically ready, you're actually in the mood. This type of innovation is why Blue Chew Gold is the #1 brand in erectile function, okay? The process is simple, all online. Get started today at bluechew.com and go for gold, okay? Ladies, do you like an angry dick? One that just comes and wrecks shop? Well, guess what? There's no better place to go straight Godzilla on that ass than Blue Chew Gold. BlueChew.com. That's right. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we got a special deal for our listeners. Sit back and hear this right now. When you buy 2 months of Blue Chew Gold, you get a third one for free. A third month for free.
No way.
Yeah, Johnny, it's real, okay? This isn't some la-la fairy tale. We're handing out mean boners here, okay? All you got to do is go to BlueChew.com, use the promo code TINFOIL. That's promo code TINFOIL. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information, and we thank the Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. Guys, listen, I love sleep. You love sleep. And if you're going to sleep, you need the best mattress possible, and that's Helix Sleep. Let me tell you about HelixSleep.com. They are fire. Let me tell you about them. Listen, Helix mattresses are some of the best in the game. Actually, you were just talking about how much you love your Helix
Dude, the
mattress.
Midnight Lux got rid of my back pain. I had that lower back pain. My sciatic nerve was kicking in. Gone, dude.
And we love No Back Pain XG. That's one of our rules on this show. Helix has over 20 models, so you can find the perfect model for you. Okay, you're upgrade your home with a Helix mattress. Spring allergens means you need more sleep. You gotta get that sleep, dude. A good night's rest sets you up for a great day. I'm telling you, it was so easy to get. I just went on the website. I hit the button, said take a quiz. I answered some quick, simple questions, and boom! They told me which mattress was best for me. And again, I love the Midnight Lux.
That's the one that paired me up with too, Sam. And it's a great mattress.
It's a great mattress. So listen, this is real simple. What are the benefits of getting Helix? It's real easy. Free shipping and seamless delivery. Helix delivers your mattress right to your door with free shipping in the U.S. They got a 120-night sleep trial with limited lifetime warranty. They have a happy with Helix guarantee. Rest easy with the seamless returns and exchanges. The Happy with Helix guarantee offers a risk-free, customer-first experience designed to ensure you're completely satisfied with your new mattress. And they are award-winning. Trust me on that. Helix is the most awarded mattress brand, tested and reviewed by experts like Forbes and Wired. So here's what we need you to do. Go to helixsleep.com/tinfoil for 20% off site-wide with their spring savings event. That's helixsleep.com/tinfoil for 20% off site-wide with their spring savings event. And one last time, that's helixsleep.com/tinfoil. And we thank them for sponsoring the show. I have this belief that the money doesn't even matter because they have so much money and they can print all of it. It really is about satanic rituals of sacrifice. And we just had our friends from Sheba News Network come on. Johnny, we recorded Skiba. Excuse me, Skiba. Sorry about that. We thought you were doing ecstasy, so we didn't invite you to do the episode XG. Sorry about that. But he brought up this really great thing, Shaun, that I think you might find interesting. And that is that he found these verses in these biblical texts, right, Johnny? And
extra biblical, yeah.
Extra biblical. That's why I wanted to ask you. Extra biblical texts. And it was basically along the lines of this belief that if the number of souls on earth hit a certain number, that would kick off the actual end of days and the judgment of Satan. And that, this abortion, these wars, all this stuff, all that stuff end up keeping that number down, so it never really happened, and we never really get to that number. It was very interesting to me. So if you go, Sam, what is war about? Everyone's like, it's about oil. I go, well, we find oil everywhere, and America has more oil than the Middle East. I think it's all about sacrifice. I think it's all about sacrifice and destroying the old world so we don't know where we came from, how powerful we could truly be. But it's really about sacrifice. I mean, everybody's talking about Palestine right now, and we should be. What's happening there is one of the saddest things we've ever seen. Also, what's going on in Lebanon. But I mean, nobody talks about the Ukraine. I mean, the Ukraine, 1.5 million white Christians have been just thrown into the meat grinder and killed. And it's like everyone's like, Putin's fighting the New World Order, or he's just a character in it and he knows where the power and the money is really at. And if he plays ball, he gets a seat at the table. I mean, like 1.5 million people dead. And nobody really even talks about that from this angle. I mean, this is how crazy they are. They're nominating Zelensky for Nobel Peace Prize.
It's crazy.
So they had peace, Ukraine and Russia, years ago, and Boris Johnson went out there and told Zelensky, keep fighting. we've got your back, etc. And it came out here in recent months that just prior to that, Boris Johnson had received over $1 million contribution from a drone manufacturer to keep the war going. So again, vested interest. But on the bigger scale of it, I agree with you entirely. It's about power, geopolitics, cult worship. You know, it's just that 1.5 million people dead in Ukraine is a blood sacrifice. They're propping up that side to keep the fighting going, and there's no young people left. We're seeing them get grabbed, shoved in vans, and sent off to the meat grinder. I know people who've been out there. They telling people, say goodbye to your families as you go to the meat grinder because you're never going to see them again. And what have we got? Zelensky, this guy who's playing the piano with his pecker, who was a comedian, who was a TV show guy, who was a cokehead, who was selling the weapons Biden was selling him to the cartel so he could get his kilos of coke. It's crazy town, absolute crazy town. But yeah, the most money is siphoned off by war. What did Julian Assange say? It's just a big money laundering scheme, and by keeping it going, you know, they're making even more, and they're blood sacrificing even more young people. But what are they going to do when there's no Ukrainians left? Keir Starmer here, this scumbag who's got the lowest ratings in the history of prime ministers, he's already spouting off about sending the young people of England to go to the meat grinder because, you know, Putin, the damn communists are coming, Putin, etc., which I've been hearing since I was a kid. People were building bomb shelters when I was growing up because the Russians were coming. How long are they going to be able to just go along with that BS to keep everybody frightened? So we're going to huddle up and look up to our government, look to our leaders. I mean, Keir Starmer right now, he's got this case, right, where these Ukrainian rent boys, which is Cockney slang for male prostitutes, three Ukrainian rent boys were arrested and they're in trial for firebombing on different dates various properties and cars belonging to Keir Starmer. So the mainstream media's not reporting on it over to say that they're at trial. The big question is, what are these male models, these Grindr kids doing at Keir Starmer's properties in the first place? How did they know about it? Is he diddling them just like the presidents of the United States are doing these things? Is Keir Starmer in on it as well? He bloody well looks like he is, if you've seen the state of him. Hold
on, Shaun. Are you telling me they sent gay hookers in to terrorize people? Is that what it is?
So two of Keir Starmer's properties and a car were firebombed in separate incidents. And then they didn't arrest, like, arsonists and, you know, career criminals for it. They arrested these male model rent boy characters. If you go on Google and just put in, you know, BBC, Keir Starmer arsonist, you'll see pictures of them. They look like they're fresh out the gay bar. They got the plucked eyebrows and all this stuff. And these kids are on trial now. For targeting his properties. How did they know to target his properties? What kind of a beef did they have with Keir Starmer in the first place? Had he not paid his bill? his bill?
Holy shit. That is crazy, dude.
So the intelligence agency here has issued a D notice on the media, which means report on this at your peril.
Really, dude?
Yeah.
That is crazy. Yeah. Terrorist twinks, dude. They send terrorist twinks.
They're trying to kick Keir Starmer out, and he's hanging on by a thread right now. And honestly, this MAGA, you just look at his face, he's waiting for his next download from the New World Order. He's just a total parasite. Everything he says, no one believes anything he says. Honestly, he's got to go, but he just refuses to go. But sadly, you know, we can throw apples and carrots and stuff at him and rejoice when he does go. But what are they going to do? Just replace him with the next person who's just going to implement their agenda.
And he has been involved with these satanic pedo cults since he was a little boy. I mean, he was there. Isn't there pictures of him with Jimmy Savile?
So Keir Starmer pops up in a lot of suspicious places. When reports came in about Jimmy Savile to investigate him, etc., Starmer was in a legal position within the government. I think it was Crown Prosecution Service. He was the head of it, and he ordered that Savile not be investigated. There was also some stabbings. This nutcase stabbed a bunch of girls in Southport near Liverpool that were at this dance class, this radicalised guy, And then Starmer went up there, pretended to cry for the girls, and the people were like, this guy's so phony. But then it came out that Starmer was involved in bringing the kids' parents over. I think it was from Rwanda. There's allegations of there was genocide and stuff, and they were involved. I don't know. But anyway, Starmer keeps popping up in all of these really diabolical places. King Charles as well. You know, Jimmy Savile was one of the... He would just waltz in and out of Buckingham Palace. He had all access. Mountbatten was the one who brought Jimmy Savile into the fold. And Mountbatten was King Charles's mentor. Mountbatten was also buggering boys, dressing them up in soldier outfits, etc. All documented by American intelligence. And Savile, for decades, he got away with it. I've got a documentary on YouTube. People watch it for free. It's called Untouchable Jimmy Savile. I've also written a book, Untouchable Jimmy Savile. And Savile would throw a lunch club for the Leeds police force every week, which was the jurisdiction he was domiciled at. And whenever there was a report about Savile across the UK about his evil deeds, the protocol was the report had to go from Police Department A to Leeds Police Department, and the guy at the Leeds Police Department that was incoming for these reports was a member of Savile's lunch club. So none of these reports saw the time of day. And he was so arrogant, Savile, he was in his Rolls Royce, and a policeman knocked on the door. He had an underage girl next to him, and he looks the copper up and down. He's like, she turns 16 at midnight. What the fuck do you want? If you don't want to lose your job, you better get back to the cop shop, kind of thing. And he's looking in, and the cop's like, you know, you guys okay? You guys okay? Savile's like, on your way, fuck off. And then the cop goes back to the cop shop and says, here's the experience I just had with Jimmy Savile. What should I do about it? And they said, yeah, if you say anything about him, we will all lose our jobs. Keep your mouth shut. This was a guy who had a papal knighthood, knighted by Queen Elizabeth. He was a Freemason. The Freemasons were at his funeral. His coffin was buried at a 33-degree angle facing the coast.
Whoa!
He was best buddies with Margaret Thatcher. He would go in and out of the Prime Minister's 10 Downing Street. And this was a guy from the north of England, like me, humble origins, coal mining area. He was down the mines as a young person, became a DJ, working in the nightclubs and stuff. All of a sudden, becomes the most famous TV personality in the UK. He had several TV shows. I never trusted him when I watched him as a kid, but one of them was called Jim'll Fix It, where you wrote in, Dear Jim, you know, I want to be in the cockpit of an airplane, for example, or I want to meet the Prime Minister, and he would make these things happen. And he was also a host. We had a regular TV show over here, a musical one called Top of the Pops, where groups would come on and mime and the dancers were there. And there's a video on YouTube of Savile putting his hand up a teenage girl's skirt, and she jumps for her life. And he's just smiling and grinning away. We interviewed a lady called Sheila, who was at Duncroft Girls' School, which they called Jimmy Savile's paedophile sweet shop. So these girls were troubled girls. He would pull up in his Rolls Royce. The woman who ran it, she loved him. She would let him stay the night. He would go in the girls' bedrooms, and he would tell the girls, you know, come with me in my Rolls Royce, and you can dance at Top of the Pops. And he would get him in the changing room, and he would molest them, or he would molest them in the Rolls Royce. He would bring them perfumes and cigarettes and stuff like that. And he just got away with it for decades. And even when even when it came out after he died, the BBC and the government still tried to suppress it, but a lot of good people pushed it through, and eventually he was completely. It was revealed. You know, he had hundreds, if not thousands, of survivor victims.
I mean, and look at Jimmy Savile. Is there any way that guy gets on television? And we all know that the British are much better at allowing unattractive people who are talented on TV. I mean, look at Saturday Night Live, UK versus, American Saturday Night Live, the level of attractiveness. And that's why everyone thinks, the UK version is 10 times better, because they probably are actually talented people instead of talking mannequins like we have on. But like Jimmy Savile is a level of ugly that is like unbelievable, dude. It's like, and he does that thing that the elites do, where like they love to have the worst haircut possible.
Yeah.
It's almost like fucking with you how bad their haircut is.
Like
they're like, look how bad I look, and look how hot my chick is. Like I'm this ugly, and you can't get this prime ass like I'm getting, dude. Top shelf ass.
It's like
dude.
the owner of the Raiders. Like, it can't get worse. But he's got the hottest chick walking around.
I mean,
looking
dude,
like
every day I hear he got somebody else pregnant. I don't think it's all real, but it's so hilarious how anybody thinks that troll could get anybody pregnant. But my question to you is, and I'm sure you've done deep dives into it, and it's like kind of something that, you know, we've been talking about on this show about Jeffrey Epstein. It's like, you know, if you study Bill Clinton, there's that situation, I believe in, I'm going to either he went to Princeton or Oxford. I'm trying to remember what school it was, but he catches an essay case and it disappears. Just like P. Diddy catches an essay case, disappears. And then suddenly they're in positions of power because, again, this is the gang ritual of jumping in. They got something on you. Same thing with Snoop Dogg. And the murder case. So did you ever discover if there was anything in Jimmy Savile's past? And if you don't know, that's fine too. But that kind of like jump starts him into the elites.
So from my research, I believe not only was he doing these things to kids himself, he had indoctrinated him into the elite system as a procurer of kids for the royal family and for the elite. Maybe he started out with the local cops, then he ends up a wizard in the Freemasons, and then all of a sudden he's clicked up with Lord Mountbatten. And Lord Mountbatten, we know his penchant for buggering the boys in the soldier outfits, etc. Look at King Cora Boys Home, that kind of a thing. So it seems to us that he was given a pass because he was procuring to so many different elites. So we see parallels between Epstein procuring for royals, such as Andrew, and then Savile, doing the exact same thing, but starting decades before Epstein. I mean, Epstein was running around with, as a younger person, he was admiring like the Khashoggi, Maxwell, honey trap apparatus across Europe. The Bank of Credit and Commerce International, I think it was called. And he was gleaning information from that. So I don't know if Epstein crossed paths with Savile because of the age differences there. And then he's talking about Clinton, going back to his university days, having essay. If people think we're making this up, just Google, Juanita Roderick, Jennifer Flowers, etc. His method of operation was, when he was governor of Arkansas or AG, whatever it was, if there was an aspiring young woman who wanted to help him with his campaigns, he would arrange to meet them in a hotel lobby, or try and get them up to the bedroom, ply them with alcohol, try and get them on coke, whatever it took, and then he would do his evil deed. And his trademark was that he left a bite. He was biting some of them as well. Several of them have said that over the years. But again, it all gets disappeared, doesn't it, when he's in running for president? The media in lockstep all say what a great guy he is, what a humanitarian, charismatic speaker, etc. And that's how the public get hoodwinked time and time again.
It's very interesting. This kind of popped up for a short time. Was about Jeffrey Epstein and his father, and how Epstein. You know who wrote Casablanca, right? The movie. Johnny, do you know who it is? The Epstein brothers, right? So the Epstein brothers write Casablanca. What's Casablanca about?
His Epstein people?
Well, this is the whole thing, right? So the Epstein brothers write Casablanca. At some point, I believe it's Warner Brothers, right? Literally this Warner. They're brothers.
It's interesting, too. The third name on that screenplay is Howard Koch. Koch, another, like the Koch brothers.
Yeah,
that's really suspicious.
So anyways, Warner Brother owes the Epsteins a lot of money, and he doesn't want to pay them. So at the time, this was during the Red Scare. So if you could get somebody labeled a communist, they were basically blackmailed from Hollywood. So anyways,
Blackballed.
this Warner brother, blackballed, excuse me. So this Warner brother basically labels the Epstein brothers as communists, and they get excommunicated. So 6 months later, one of the Epsteins dies, and I'm air quoting, dies of cancer. Well, 6 months later after that, or a short time after that, an Epstein shows up in New York. Now, here's the thing about this Epstein. If you actually look at his history, there's 13 years of nothing. That this was an Epstein that had gone to I think World War II or something like that, had gone in, and then the trail stops. There's no history of him until he suddenly shows up in New York and is like a city lawn maintenance guy, something like that, which is Jeffrey Epstein's dad. So it's super interesting to me because a lot of people believe there's a segment that believes somehow Epstein faked his own death. And I just saw Jesse on Fire do another video about how he believes Palm Beach Pete is actually Epstein, which would be the greatest fuck you've ever seen in your fucking life, right? But it's super interesting that happens because it's an Epstein from Hollywood. He's powerful. I'm sure some people know. And just think about this. This is when there's no internet, there's no paper trail. There's no way to confirm anything. This Epstein from war has 13 years of just nothing. There's no evidence of anything. There's no paper trail. There's no documents on him for 13 years. And then he suddenly shows up in New York City, marries Epstein's mom, and the rest is history, because you're always why did they pick Epstein? What about Epstein? Why did Bill Barr's dad why did they let him become a teacher when he had no credentials to teach? Why does he suddenly get hired at this investment firm when he has no history of investing? That is the $1 billion question right there. Why is this guy picked? And that goes back to Jimmy Savile. Sounds like because he was running all these kid shows and they probably knew he was a giant perv and probably at some point got busted and they stepped in and cleaned it up for him and be like, you can do all this shit. You can do all this shit forever. You just have to do what we tell you to do, which is procure young girls for us. And you can go into old homes and rape grandmas. You can go into morgues and have sex with dead bodies. This is what Savile was known for.
Yeah, Savile was a necro romancer as well. Absolutely, he was fascinated with death from a young age. Volunteered to work at the hospitals, had access to the corpses, and people who were in hospital beds who were ill or incapacitated in some way, he would do things to them. And there was one case where an underage girl reported it to the nurse, and the nurse said, that's just Jimmy Savile, don't say anything. He's raising millions for the hospital. And again, it's that cloak of charity that they hide under time and time again. That was fascinating what you said about Epstein's dad. I didn't know that. We have interviewed a guy called Aryan Mena. We interviewed him for a second time more recently, and he gave us history about Epstein's earlier years, and he said the mainstream media version of how Epstein and Maxwell met is absolute BS, because Aryan Mena, if the viewers aren't familiar, he was in the Fed's prison for Iran-Contra. He worked with Robert Maxwell, and he said Robert Maxwell brought Epstein into the fold and introduced Maxwell, Ghislaine, and Jeffrey back then, way before she went over mourning for the death of her father. So, it was this big, massive apparatus that Robert Maxwell had all over the world, this spider's web that people are trying to unravel to this day. And Aryan Mena said he didn't like Epstein. He also said that it was Epstein compromat they used on Bill Clinton to get Bill Clinton to scupper the peace deal with the Palestinians and Yasser Arafat. And Ari Ben Menashe, he was former Israeli military intelligence. So we've never had anyone that close to, that side of things talk to us. And he basically said, Epstein's main loyalty, what was to Israel and the Mossad. And the same with Robert Maxwell. That's why he got this funeral of honors in Israel when he died, even though they probably took him out.
And it's super interesting because the Zionist of America will try to convince you that Epstein was a KGB asset, and everyone else is like, he's a Mossad asset. But if you study Robert Maxwell, he was all of those things. So do I think that Epstein was doing business with the KGB? 100%. It's all about power. The Russians are constantly working on new technologies. If there's something that could help Israel, he'll fucking make that happen for them as well. So it's like all these, oligarchies help oligarchies, dude. Oligarchies help oligarchies. That's what I believe. The elites of all this, they're all related somehow in bloodlines, and they basically need to keep their populations mad at each other, so that they don't focus on that. All these elites are working together to bring in a one world government where they control everything. We're just sheep. They can do whatever they want with us. We all barely survive in high anxiety, high stress, high depression, and they feed off our energy. So again, it's like this nonlinear warfare that the KGB came up with, where they supply both sides of the argument with enough evidence that both sides are sure that they are right, so that they never come together. So was Epstein a fucking Mossad agent? Yeah, 100%. Probably the most loyal to them. But was he working with the KGB? I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, if you have that, that is literally the story of Casablanca. Casablanca was where all the spies could go, and everyone. It's literally like John Wick before John Wick. The hotel where all the spies and all the assassins can go, but there's you can't shoot or kill anybody in there. That's the one place where everyone goes to chill. Casablanca, same exact thing. He knew everybody, was working everybody. Would I doubt that Epstein would do that exact same thing? 100%. Why wouldn't you work with the Russians if it could bring in money, power, and access for Israel? 100%, dude.
But the AI control grid is going to save us, Sam. What do you think of that?
I couldn't agree more, dude. Please bring on AI God. Please bring it to us. Bill Clinton is an interesting story. I've told this story before. When the JFK assassination happened, they had the Warner Commission study it, and they gave us the magic bullet theory. But on that commission, there was one guy that was like, this story's bullshit, and I'm not going to agree to it. Well, that guy gets driven to the airport, gets on a plane, and is never heard from again, ever. The story is that the guy who drove that senator to the airport was in fact Bill Clinton.
Took him out?
No, Bill drove him to the airport, and then the plane disappeared, and he was never heard from again. So Bill was very, very connected. Again, catches that essay case at whatever university he's at.
Oxford.
Is it Oxford?
Yeah,
I'm not okay. Oxford.
I looked it up. Yeah.
Catches the essay case, and now they got him compromised. So then Hillary Clinton, whose father basically was the lawyer or something for the Chicago mob, and once the heads of those were taken out, who's the famous Chicago mob guy? You remember he went to jail for tax fraud? Capone gets taken out. Nobody realizes that Hillary Clinton's father takes over the mob at that point. He starts running it once Capone's gone. So now she's like the daughter of a famous mobster. She's, in my humble opinion, gay. And, just like they did with Jada and Will Smith, they kind of put these two together to form a power couple that seems heterosexual. I mean, his daughter doesn't even look like him. He looks more like Hubbard, their associate. She has the exact same face. And I'm going to tell you something, Shaun. People can call me crazy. I really do believe that these Eyes Wide Shut parties happen, and they all go there, and everybody bangs each other's wives. And if they get pregnant, you have to raise that kid. It's almost like a weird occult cucking that goes on, because you look at like Princess Di's kids, they don't look a lot like Charles. And you can kind of look at these other guys and go, okay, that he looks more like, it's like, who's the oldest? Williams? Is that the oldest prince?
But you think they are?
William.
You think they're trying to get pregnant though at those parties, or you think it's just it happens? It
happens. That's my honest belief. And if your wife gets pregnant during these rituals of orgies,
it sucks to be you, kind of.
Yep, that's your son, that's your daughter. And if you look at, I think it's Hibbard or Hubbard, Johnny. It's his associate of the Clintons. She has his exact face. It's super.
It's called sperm competition. They have warrior sperm in the sperm, and the warrior sperm fight the other sperm. And if the warrior sperm doesn't win, then the other guy gets the woman pregnant. Do you know anything about Bill Clinton's mom? Because someone died on her shift. She was working in the medical profession, and they brought in the coroner, Fahmy Malik, who covered it all up so she wouldn't get in any trouble. And then if you look at the hashtag Clinton body count, boys on the tracks, etc. If you died, if the Clintons whacked you, if you were shot in the head, Fahmy Malik would say that you drowned in a swimming pool. Some of his rulings were that blatant. If you look at the boys on the tracks case, where they had these two kids who witnessed a drug drop and then were laid side by side after they stuffed them out on a rail track and on a tarp put over them. Fahmy Malik ruled that they'd smoked so much green, they'd gone into a psychedelic trance, laid side by side on the tracks, and the train had run over them.
No.
So for years, this is Don Henry and Kevin Ives, and Linda Ives. For years, she was hounding Bill Clinton, showing up at speeches, demanding, a proper account, proper explanation of what had happened to her son. God bless her. And she never, ever got any explanation from Clinton as to what really happened to her son that day. Absolute tragedy. So again, collateral damage as far as these people are concerned. And it was Clinton who provided the state security for the drug drops, the troopers, the Alaska State Police. So it might have been his own guys that snuffed those kids out. And then the CIA was coordinating the drug drops. George H.W. Bush, under him, Felix Rodriguez, CIA, Oliver North, another BS artist, etc. And because the Clintons played ball with the CIA, with these drug drops, I believe that's how they parlayed into going to the White House. And we even saw, George H.W. Bush grabbing women's asses in his wheelchair as he was about to expire. He voted for Hillary Clinton, Republican. This is how tight Clinton and Bush crime families are. It's all the same thing, folks. It's an illusion of choice when they're asking you to vote.
Yeah, when Clinton was governor, Arkansas was ranked 50th in basically everything. They were the last place of almost everything in America.
Number one in CIA drug deals, though.
Yeah.
Can't forget.
50th in education. Number one in CIA drug deal.
The drug money that went through the banks of Arkansas was out of control back then. So they had a scam. God bless Larry Nichols. He's another one who died, I think, of turbo cancer. So Larry Nichols, he worked for ADFA, Arkansas Development Finance Authority, which was, branded as this wonderful thing going to bring jobs to the community, etc. But actually what you did was you wrote a check to the Rose Law Firm, put in your application for a loan from ADFA. That's Hillary's, law, working at this law firm. And then they would give you this loan, which you never had to pay back. So they had this amazing way of laundering, one of the ways of laundering the money.
Oh,
yeah.
I've heard that with lawyers. Lawyers have this thing where they can hold your money.
What?
And because there's a client-lawyer privilege, no one can ask what to do, and that's how you can launder money. You could give it to your lawyer, and then they just loan it back to you. But because they already have the money, you don't have to pay them back. And
God bless client lawyer privilege. When I was in the jail, there was an Italian mafia young man I was housed with, and he was running the show. At night, he'd be out with the guards smoking, giving them orders, and he managed to put some of my co-defendants in my cell with me. But he had attorney-client privilege. He had his girlfriend coming as his lawyer and giving him blowjobs in the legal room where the guards couldn't go.
Nice.
That's great.
I mean, dude, God bless these sex addicts and how much they're willing to do. It's like unbelievable, dude. I don't mean God bless, like fuck them, but you know, it really is crazy the level of crime, and I just think that we're starting to slowly descend into like a banana republic, where it's like just like Mexico. It's like the cartels are here. This is part of our life, and we have to work around this, and there's nothing really you can do about it. And, you know, I mean, it's all, I mean, like, Mexican cartels have Ukrainian weapons.
I wonder how they got that.
That's great.
Isn't that crazy? And then you think of this, dude, that the Joe Biden left all this U.S. military equipment in Afghanistan. And what kicks off right after that? The Ukraine. Right? Like, where is all that? Where is all that weaponry? I guarantee.
I'm sure they destroyed it, Sam.
Yeah.
I'm
sure the Taliban are just
just like the helicopter.
Just like they destroyed the opium fields. Production up 1,000%.
Yeah. And now they don't even need opium. They say fentanyl's just taking it all over. So they're like, that's why they probably left Afghanistan. They're like, we don't even need these crops anymore. We're just producing synthetic opiates. So one thing going on in Europe, especially in England, is the influx of immigrants changing the culture of Europe, from European to Middle Eastern. You know, we see in America this real movement to HB1 visas from India. There's this whole belief that they want to bring in a more subservient population that will do it. I mean, you're talking people who come from a caste system where you're born into a caste and you can never get out of that. Just think about that, who we're importing. And like I've said this before, I like Indians. Indians from India are shady as shit. I do a whole joke about it. They're shady as fuck. But for some reason, they come here, and after like one generation, they're wiggers. They're all wiggers.
They're obedient. Like they're gonna do.
But they're just like they super assimilate. Like the next generation becomes super Americanized. They're all trying to become SoundCloud rappers, and they're just all doing all the stupid shit. So I don't mind them, but in Europe, it seems really crazy. So the reason I'm bringing this up. So I was in Austin over the weekend shooting my special. It's gonna fucking crush.
You go hard?
It's either gonna crush or it's gonna destroy my career. Either one. We'll see. It's gonna be great. So I'm sitting down and I'm having dinner with Kurt and his girlfriend, and they're wonderful people. And Kurt tells me something so fucking insane. So have you seen this UN document about replacement theory? Have you seen it, Shaun? Have you heard about it?
No.
There is a document that is basically when everyone's like, replacement theory is an anti-Semitic fucking trope. And you're like, well, here's a document from the UN literally saying that's what they want to do. So according to Kurt, allegedly, I got to say that, allegedly, do you know who wrote that paper? Johnny, do you know the paper I'm talking about?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
No idea about this paper.
Johnny, are you ready to hear this?
Go on.
Do you know who allegedly wrote that paper? Eric Weinstein.
Really?
Wait up. The guy that goes on Rogan all
That's
the time?
fascinating.
Isn't that fascinating, dude? And like nobody ever asks him about it. Nobody ever talks about it. This is allegedly. This is what I've been told. Wow. Allegedly. That he's the one who wrote that fucking paper. Then the question is did he write it because he's hired, or did he write it because he believes it?
Somebody must ask him about this, right?
I mean, so who's going to ask him?
I can see Rogan asking.
That shit's fucking nuts, dude.
Yeah.
That shit's fucking nuts, dude.
I don't know what to think about either of those guys, the Weinsteins.
I mean, they flip-flop all the fucking time.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're just so, and then, it's.
Did you watch?
It's a big thing to
Did
break
you watch
down.
the latest Rogan that he was on?
I didn't.
When was he on? It depends on when. I mean, if it was.
That's why he couldn't do the episode he was watching, the Joe Rogan episode.
Yeah, that's why.
So it's just interesting, dude. Like the world we live in right now, it's not getting worse. It's just getting more obvious. This shit's been going on for fucking ever. It just now we know about it. But let me ask you something, Shaun. Why do you think there's a lot of chatter, a lot of people talking about how angry they are, but nobody really seems to be wanting to do anything about it. What is your thoughts on that? I mean, when you're not podcasting and you're walking amongst the people, you're out to dinner, you're grabbing drinks, you're living your life, and people ask you what you do, and maybe you bring it up, and there seems to be this weird glaze going over their face. It's almost like a detachment. I don't want to hear it. My brother, who I love with all my heart, he's one of my favorite people on planet Earth. Like, we brought up something last night. I'm like, you don't even want to know. I got stuff on that guy. He's like, I don't want to know. I just want to live my life. I don't want to know. And I've seen that a lot in comedy. Comedians very detached from what's going on, almost not even wanting to talk about it because they don't want to get political, which I understand. Like, not everybody is a political comic, and I wouldn't want everybody to be a political comic. I wouldn't want everybody to be an edgy comic because I like the spectrum of comedy. But it's like, you're not going to conform your way through this. You're not going to vote your way out of it. You're not going to conform your way out of this. If you just do what they tell you, you're not going to make them happy. They're not going to leave you alone. It's just constantly going to get worse and worse and worse. And what seems to be from, the 80s down, way past the 80s, from the 80s on, not forward but backwards, there seems to be like they called out shit. I mean, you see like old congressional or Senate hearings calling out the CIA, calling out. None of that exists anymore. And so my question to you, Shaun, is knowing everything you know, and maybe you don't get resistance. Maybe the people you talk to is like, yeah, tell me more. I don't get that at all. What is your thoughts on why people might be hesitant to hear this stuff?
So it brings to mind then the day I was released. I did almost 6 years in Arizona prison for my ecstasy case. Extreme violence, etc. People's heads getting smashed into toilets, teeth bouncing out, people's ears get, all this kind of thing, ears getting bitten off, fingers getting bitten off. Saw a guy with his leg pointing in the completely wrong direction one day. So I'm in this environment for 6 years, and I'm at the airport. I've just been released, and a soldier. I sat down in the airport next to a soldier who just come back from some messed up place, Afghanistan, Iraq, seen action. And I start talking to this soldier, and we're looking around, and we're seeing all the people just walking around on their phones, going about their day, just totally within the control grid of what I'm saying here is people are not going to pick up their pitchforks if they've got iPhones, if they've got enough food to eat. Historically, it's when people are starving to death, when people, the conditions are so bad, the human rights are so bad, people start to rebel. But now we're all completely manipulated. They could kill millions of us. Look at the excess deaths, the turbo cancers. My dad's got turbo macular degeneration right now. He's got enough of an operation to prevent him from going blind. He got, a load of those jabs. All this stuff could happen and be in our faces, but our standards of living are such, and we're so manipulated, we don't take any action. We just sit around watching Netflix and just eating stuff and being happy and oblivious. But there are a hell of a lot more people who are waking up to it. My viewers are so hip on my channel. The questions that come in for the guests, they're so great, and I appreciate all that. And if enough of us wake up, the optimists say, changes have got to be made. I'm more skeptical. If you go back thousands of years and look at the pyramid of power, you've always had these people at the top and the people at the bottom of the pyramid, the public. I've never ever known what's going on at the top at the time it is happening. Right now, we think we might know what's going on, but 100 years and we're going to look back. look at those suckers, all this crazy stuff, and they didn't have a clue what was going on. So yeah, sadly, I've got a more pessimistic outlook as to where we are in that pyramid today and why we're not taking any action about it.
What does the world look like in 5 years or 10 years to you?
So we're seeing an acceleration of the AI control grid. I mean, I've been trading the stock market since I was a kid, and I'm looking, at companies like Nvidia, Tesla, all the robotics plans that they've got, and how companies who provide jobs to the public, their stock prices are getting decimated. They reckon they're going to have robots running everything. And the problem that the public's going to have, there's going to be too many of us, and recreation is going to be a big thing, because what the hell are they going to do with us all? So they've also got this depopulation agenda. Some of the more dystopian guests we've had on have said that the elites have already got these bunkers, like the Zuckerberg bunker, kitted out, ready, so that when nuclear war comes, and these people are so arrogant, they believe they can set nuclear war in motion, go into their bunkers with their luxuries, survive this nuclear war, the winter, etc., and come up, and the billions of people will have gone, the robots will be running the world, and we won't be a fucking problem for them anymore.
It is a crazy thing. So, all those scientists that have gone missing, they're all like, there's these aliens from like 400 years from the future, 900 years from the future, whatever those numbers are.
40,000.
Yeah, and it's like some of them are. There's two futures they're battling. It's either the future is tech overlords or Chinese.
Isn't that just the plot of Terminator?
Yeah, but it's all autistic. That's what all I got. It just seems like the autistic people survive and the rest of us get taken out. But again, I don't know what they think the future is after nuclear war, because it looks pretty miserable to me. Imagine if we all, nuclear war happens, we all die, and then Mark Zuckerberg has to figure out how to create civilization again.
Yeah, that's why Elon's trying to get us to Mars, Sam, so that we can repopulate the Earth from Mars.
I don't know what sounds worse, staying here after the nuke or going to Mars.
Yeah, neither of those options.
Life on Mars will be miserable.
Yeah.
If anybody ever makes it there, it will be just nightmarish.
Yeah, I mean, then you have this hot 19-year-old who wants to be the first person to go to Mars. I'm like, what are you doing? You're a smoke show. Enjoy your life, dude. What are you doing? God gave you blessings. Now you want to go to fucking space by yourself?
No way they're sending somebody who has a period to Mars.
Oh, yeah. My God. How many Tampax do you got to fill in?
It's just
the whole cargo is just going to be Tampax.
We don't.
And Zuckerberg's frozen warrior sperm.
Yeah, it's frozen. Yeah, because Mark, it's so funny. I saw Mark Zuckerberg was on a podcast going, Apple's about to go down because they can't create anything. I go, hey, asshole, what have you created? You created nothing. You have to buy everything that works. You've tried thing after thing after thing, and none of it fucking works.
Yeah,
dude.
I mean, look at the guy who invented Oculus, Palmer Luckey. Who started Oculus. He immediately went on to start Anduril, that terrible defense weapons company that has those drone fighters and all that shit. And and I'm sure that's what a real innovator, somebody who actually makes shit, looks like. You just go on and sorry, that
was crazy.
That filter came down.
That was crazy. Yeah.
Zuckerberg is just.
I mean, he didn't even invent Facebook. It's it's so funny. That clip of me on Danny Jones pops up everywhere. But it's it was LifeLock. They handed it to him. The Winkle brothers are all part of a psyop to be like, this guy was so smart. Dude, you haven't created jack shit. Jack shit.
Well, they hate him. I mean,
Jeff Bezos, same thing. His dad was one of the rocket scientists for DARPA. You don't think, dude, they started with books. Nobody gave a shit about books. People still don't give a shit about books. No. Create the system using books because no one's going to pay attention because it's fucking books. And then once that's all taken care of.
We got a guest on called Professor Hamamoto, and he's Japanese, and he's got a theory that Zuck, or is it Woody Harrelson, Larry Ellison, they are creating a hybrid Asian bloodline by marrying these hot Asian chicks and breeding with these Asian chicks, and there's something about the genes, the bloodline that they're trying to create these Uber race.
What?
Yeah,
a bunch of Steve Burns. That's what they're trying to create. A bunch of half white, half Asian fucking comedians, dude. That's crazy, bro.
See, but this just reminds me of like the Zorro Ranch, like were they just creating and making people there? Because he just kept impregnating hot chicks, and what were you doing with them? Where are they now? Where are those kids at?
Yeah, that's a great question. Zorro Ranch was right next to a weapons development company in New Mexico, and he would just invite all these fucking autistic fucking rocket scientists to get laid, and they just loved it, and they were throwing parties on Epstein Island. And so, like, I trust the science, really, because science has been some of the most deadly, dangerous, damaging forces on planet Earth. What do you mean you trust science, dude? The Nazis? You like those scientists?
What if they were using scientists' sperm to impregnate the hot chicks at fucking Zorro Ranch, and they were trying to make this like elite hot, like, you know, like just like.
No, I know what you're saying. It never works. I mean, look at pro athletes. They marry supermodels and their kids can't ball at all. Yeah. Ever. It's like when you marry a high school chick, that's when the kid can ball.
Yeah, it's often, a lot of times, it's like the lesser, if you were kind of like a B tier athlete, then maybe you have a kid that's,
It all depends on the mom. If the mom is tall and athletic, the kid's athletic. If the mom is just hot, the kid can't ball. I mean, look at LeBron James's kid. Now he married his high school sweetheart, so it doesn't quite fit that. But most of the time, it's they become famous. They meet the hottest of hot, and their kids are just good looking. They can't ball. They can't.
Not bad though. He's better than like Marcus Jordan or whatever. It's like,
yeah, I mean, that's true, dude. I don't know, man. Sean, did we touch on everything, or anything you want to include that we didn't talk about?
Yeah, you just triggered another thought then. So we interviewed a few survivors who said they were offered money by Epstein for their eggs to be inseminated with Epstein's sperm. Oh. And Juliet Bryant said she woke up in the New Mexico ranch, and she felt uncomfortable, like her insides had been tampered with. Oh, so it does look like he was trying to create a baby farm and reproduce with his own sperm. So, but when you read the emails with the scientists, they had a lab out in Ukraine that we know of, and they had other labs. So there was all kinds of ongoing experiments to create babies, designer babies, and hermaphrodite babies for sexual purposes.
Unbelievable. As dark as you think it is, it gets even darker.
It's horrific.
And then you had that, you remember that Peter Nagon or whatever his name is out of Canada? Again, a guy with a shitty haircut, fucking, and he's just talking to those hot black chick. He's like, we just need your eggs. We just want your eggs so badly. The girls are just sitting there staring. They're like, what is this guy talking about? This guy with a magician's haircut is just telling me he wants my eggs. It's like...
He was a friend of ex-Prince Andrew, and he also wanted to get women pregnant so he could abort the fetuses, take parts of the fetuses, and consume those parts as an elixir of life. I interviewed Peter Nygaard's son, who learned what a monster his own father was and turned against him.
Yeah, I mean, like, take a look at how many actors and actresses' parents. I mean, Nicole Kidman's dad was literally one of the most prolific child sex traffickers to ever exist. He was huge, and now she's a giant fucking actress. I mean, it's just crazy to me.
A giant cat now. I don't know if you've seen her. She looks crazy.
What about Woody Harrelson's dad?
Yeah, part of the assassination of JFK. Killed a judge. Just didn't give a shit, dude. It's super crazy. And then you get into like the formation of NASA and how everyone who was a part of that, like both Walt Disney and
Von Braun.
Well, Von Braun, but also L. Ron Hubbard. Both of their businesses got special treatment from the government. Scientology is tax free, doesn't pay taxes, and then Disney gets their own like territory that's not part of the United States. It's like kind of crazy. All right, Sean, great episode. One more time, tell them where they can find you.
Yeah, so if you put my links in the description box of this video, that would be great. But if you want to find, I've written 19 books, all my socials, my YouTube channel under my name. Go on Google, SHAUN, Shaun Attwood, ATT Wood. We salute you, Sam and crew. Let's expose these demonic paedophile elites wherever we can, these cult of Baal, baby sacrificing motherfuckers. Thank you for having me on.
I just noticed your shirt. It's
amazing.
pretty great,
it's
dude.
dope.
It's the whole map of Epstein.
wow.
That's crazy.
Credit, shout out to Ryan Dawson. He's been near the tip of the spear on this.
Right.
Almost 2 decades researching Epstein. He's been banned from all of the platforms, demonetized, debanked. But people can find Ryan Dawson on Twitter.
We love Ryan.
And,
He's known as Ray from Tokyo, China on here because he used to come out and couldn't put his name in thing. Shaun, we love you. Open door anytime to come on. Thank you so much for doing the show, and we look forward to talking to you again, man. Keep up the great work, dude. You're
much love, fellas.
Dude.
Thank you.
Much love. Thanks for spending time with us. I know it's a weird time for you over there, so in terms of time of day. So thank you for doing it with us. Thank you so much, dude. All right, what'd you guys think of Shaun Attwood?
Had been a while since he came on. It'd been forever.
Been a while.
Too long.
Too long.
Been a while, dude.
You know, I was thinking about when they were saying that Palm Beach Pete might be Epstein. I was thinking we got to see Palm Beach Pete's dick. That's really the only way to know for sure.
Johnny wants to see a dude's dick.
We got it. That's the only way
Johnny,
we'll know.
tweet that right now. Palm Beach, show us your
Show
egg
us
dick.
your dick.
What are we looking for it
Not
to be
an
him?
egg.
Yeah, if you have a regular penis,
You're not Jeffrey Epstein.
yeah. If you have an egg-shaped dick, you're Jeffrey Epstein.
But you don't
Sus.
think with all that money you'd fix that penis of yours?
no,
So,
why? It's like
Let's see the
girthy.
scars, and he'll have scars if he's done that.
They shaved it down.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, just if you're gonna put like some kind of, I don't know, a penisectomy or whatever, you gotta have some scars.
Has anyone in the history of time ever got a penis reduction?
A reduction.
Ooh.
Not on purpose. You know, like I'm sure. you know.
Except for
Yeah.
trans.
That's not reduction. That's getting rid of it.
Yeah,
That's two
that's-
different
I mean,
things.
it's reduced to nothing.
It's like inversion. That's almost like negative penis. Yeah, because they go in.
Ugh. God, how can you think that's a good idea?
You should have to donate your penis to somebody else.
Yeah, like little dick dudes can bit on your dick.
Yeah. Okay.
5, 5, 5, 4, 4, 10, 10, 10, 10, 11, 10. All right, the big black shawl goes to the tiny Asian man.
We finally found a purpose for NFTs. Finally, it's
very rare.
dong NFT.
Highly specialized. I mean, dude, nobody wants you to do it, so they charge you like $1 million.
Imagine how pissed you are to be that doctor making that thing smaller. And he wants it your size.
Yeah, and you got a little dick. You're like, fuck, if it's my dick, I would love it.
Yeah, I had to go in for a penis reduction. It was just conditions like macro penis. What is macro penis, dude? Did you know that was anything? Macro
I don't even want to
penis?
look it up.
There's something called macro penis?
I mean, there's micro penis. What is macro penis? I gotta
Black.
Google
They
this.
mean a BBC.
yeah, if you got a black
All
dick,
right,
we'll
I'm
chop
Googling
that
it.
shit
Hold on.
down.
Don't
look
do
it up,
Don't do it. I'll look it up. I'll
Or
look it up.
take it off the screen if
Take it
you're
off
going to
the
look
screen.
I got
at
it
it.
off the screen, but let's do it. Macro.
I love that
Macro
Johnny
penis,
just wants to see it.
called macrophallus or megalopenis.
Megalo penis?
Yeah, megalopenis.
Oh, it just hangs? You can't get hard?
Not megalo. Like it's all one word, like a dinosaur. Megalopenis
I tell you,
We're naming big dicks after dinosaurs.
is
now.
a rare medical condition defined as a penis that is significantly larger than the typical ranges for a person's age, usually measuring more than 2 standard deviations above average. For adult men, this typically means an erect length exceeding 7.5 inches. Is macropenis?
Hold on. If you have an 8-inch dick,
You got
you have a
macro- Megalopenis. That's
You know
what
the
it
guy
says
who
right.
wrote this has a really, really
Yeah,
small
that
dick.
guy's pissed.
Yeah. Sorry, Asian bro. But yeah, that's not.
Asian guy's like, you should cut your dick off.
Oh, it's funny. There's a whole Reddit. Did you know this? There's a Reddit called Big Dick Problems.
Oh, yeah. Can you read some?
And it's what is considered a macro penis is the first question on the big dick problems. Let's see. All right, it's just gonna be shit like I'm playing the world's tiniest violin for you. Anyone catch men staring at their print more than women? That's talking about your in your sweatpants, you know.
Oh,
when
yeah,
you can see your dick kind of prints on it. I can't wear pleated pants from Uniqlo. Let's see.
Wow.
You know which one sucks like that I've heard is when your fucking dick hits the toilet thing.
Oh,
that
this-
must suck in like a public restroom.
They're getting stabbed by the
horrible.
IUD, bro.
What?
These guys are getting stabbed by IUDs.
Oh
yeah.
my God. God giveth, God taketh.
Here's one. It's just the Durex and it's missing. It says the XXL condoms are always gone.
There's a bunch of big dick dudes running around, dude.
Not sure what I'm hitting.
Well, you know what else? You know what else? Is when you get older, it's really impossible for them to get erections.
Oh, it's too much
So
blood.
me and my 5 to
That's what
6
we
inch
pray.
brothers are just shanking chicks in our 50s.
That's what we pray is true anyway. That's what we tell ourselves to
Too
sleep.
much blood? You think it's too much
It's
blood
too
for your,
much.
for your heart?
It's just Johnny. Guys are with normal penises are having problems getting erection. Imagine
got
if you got
Viagra, though.
Godzilla down there.
You got Blue Chew Gold to solve that problem.
Thank you, Blue Chew Gold.
How many of you? Well, okay. What's the deal with the obsession on foreskin? I don't get that. I guess if you have
Could
a,
that be
There is
the
an-
Reddit
there is
that
an-
could
there
be
is
the
an
coolest?
obsession. There is
That
an
is the
obsession.
worst. Oh yeah, look at this
There
guy.
is an obsession.
He feels hunted down.
oh, here you go, bro. Can't stay hard for long because he's got macro penis.
Yeah, too much blood. The
There we
blood.
go.
That's why you gotta get Blue Chew Gold. That's right, Blue Chew Gold. Go to samtriple.com. Albuquerque, Austin for the 1000th, Miami. Yes. Dude, go back. This Tuesday. Nope, that already happened. Okay, Miami, Joke World in St. Petersburg, Kansas, Lawrence, Kansas, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Then I got Truth or Con. Johnny might go. XG maybe will go. Truth or Con, November 7th in Dallas. That day, that link will be up by the time you hear this. And then finally, my last weekend in LA. Guys, join the mailing list. I got to do that more. Mailing list. Join the mailing list. Please get on my mailing list. Premium content's on fire. Thumbnails on point. People are talking about it. People are like, those are the greatest thumbnails ever. This guy thought the thumbnail was real. One of my thumbnails. He's like, those chicks are so hot,
It was
dude.
pretty hot. Dude, we've had hot chicks, but I couldn't believe the ones I saw. I was like, there's no
And
way.
we see hot chicks all the time at Tinfoil Hat. Go down. Cash Daddies, talk about it.
Yeah, Cash Daddies is a podcast with a Patreon where the people get together and
We're the
discuss,
people.
preparing for retirement, saving, getting making money, how to invest that money that you make.
Howie on the last one, his camera didn't work, and all he wanted to do was talk about the Knicks.
Yeah,
That's not good omen, dude. That's not
That
good
is not a
omen
good
joy.
omen, you're right, yeah.
It's not good omen joy for sure.
okay. That's a play on words. It only makes sense if you're a mush mouth. Almond door.
Johnny, go back to the website. Shut up, Johnny.
That's not me doing that. Don't yell at me for
Go
shit
down,
that
go
XG's doing.
down, go down. Chaos Twins is coming. I say it all the time.
You do say it all the time, man. It's
T-shirts.
never arriving.
T-shirts. Go to tinfoil@t-shirts.com. Two new T-shirts about to go up. Gold and silver, WiseWolf, AquaCure hydrogen brown gas. Check that out. Harley Ray, candles and crystals and sage. Chemical free body. Take it every day. I take it every day. And then Joel Staley, EMF Rocks, Prometheus. EMF Rocks if you want to get rid of dirty electricity. Prometheus if you want a decentralized website. On or off?
I'm on
This
today.
guy's
Yes.
tripping balls.
Tripping balls.
Anything else?
Go check out my vlog. Actually marks the spot. Please go check it out on YouTube.
I'm on Twitter at Johnny Woodard, and then Broken Simulation is a podcast. Listen, watch all that,
People
please.
love it. People love it.
People claim to love
Finally,
it.
if you go to World War Debate, that date is coming. I can't wait to announce that to you. And then finally, if you go to youtube.com/tinfoil hat official, you can follow us on YouTube. And then also youtube.com/Sam Tripoli Comedy. You can see my 15-minute crowd work special. I'm not really calling it a special. It's just crowd.
I was going to say, yeah, don't call it that.
It's not. It's got to be 30 minutes to be a special. And this is 15. It's called Opiate for the Asses. Enjoy it. That's when it's less than 30 minutes. It's Opiate for the Asses. Or it's not special.
I love that name.
Yeah, that's it. Back to Underwood. Atwood, excuse me. Back to Atwood. Man, that Jimmy Savile. I mean, that
Jimmy
face.
Savile.
Savile. Yeah. Okay, Johnny. Names aren't my thing. Jimmy Savile. Dude, the guy looked like a creep. It's like if you
The
had
worst looking fucking guy.
if you
on
had
the
to guess,
planet.
hey, dude, here's a lineup. Pick the pedo. I'm picking that guy every time.
Every time. Yeah.
And again, bad hair. We love the bad hair.
Did you ever watch the Louis Theroux documentary with him?
Hey, look at that hair, dude. Like, it's barely staying on.
Look at that
him.
guy.
Oh
How
my
do you guys
God.
not think that guy is a pure scumbag?
Just darkness. Just all radiated darkness.
And,
And
then
people,
just
they let him host a kids show, bro.
yeah, would you let that guy host a kid show?
No, I'm trying to think if we have a comparable maybe Michael Jackson, I guess, who he did look freaky and he had a reputation of doing stuff.
Who else is kind of creepy that worked with kids?
But definitely MJ is the number one guy in our
Creepy
culture.
looking? I mean, I don't know.
I mean, he got creepier as he got older.
Oh,
'cause
dude,
he
come
kept
on. When he was wearing that
slicing
mask and shit and
dicing.
didn't have a nose, yeah. He
Captain
was creepy.
Kangaroo was a little creepy looking.
That's before my time.
Dan Schneider was just fat.
How about, yeah, he's definitely creepy.
Dan Snyder?
Yeah, the guy from Nickelodeon.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, he wasn't really like a public figure, though.
Yeah,
was he?
no,
He was
he
kind of
was
behind
Well,
the
he
scenes.
was.
Yeah.
He was on Head of the Class. You remember
I don't know
that?
what that is.
That was a television show about a classroom.
Cosby, but he didn't look weird.
Yeah, but he was mostly older
like
women.
normal.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm talking creepy for like.
Nobody, right?
Oh, do you know? I mean, he really wasn't around kids, but he kind of was fucking Jared from Subway.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he was around
That's
kids.
probably our
That's a
Jimmy
good one.
Savile right there.
He was
Yeah.
around kids a lot.
Did you see that somebody went around and made like their own promo of like Jared being back at Subway and put it on the wall at Subway? And he's in like a jumpsuit holding up his pants like where he lost weight. It's great.
You gotta think about it. It really was. He kind of made Subway in a way.
Oh, for sure. He was such a huge part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like everyone who was fat was like, I could be a pedo too.
It must suck to be like Subway, where like that was your competition. You thought they were done. You're like, oh, Subway's done. We got
Oh, it's
this.
devastating.
We got this. There's no more competition, and they still
devastating.
somehow stayed alive.
Somebody
What's your
got fired
favorite
for that.
sub?
This is a chicken bacon ranch.
No, but which sub?
Oh, Jimmy John's.
Jimmy John's?
Yeah.
Oh my god,
what
dude.
is yours?
Dude, it's like
Fire
Jersey
subs?
Mike's or get the fuck out. It's not
Oh,
even
fire
close.
subs
Well,
is good
Jimmy
too.
John's don't they toast them?
Yeah.
I like that.
I don't
Yeah.
know, dude.
I like it toasted. I don't get a lot of. I don't eat a lot of
Quiznos had
salt.
it, dude.
Oh,
And
Quiznos
then
was the
Quiznos.
shit.
Quiznos
Yeah.
had it, and then they ran ads where their spokesmen were rats, and it just went to shit.
Yeah, that was really stupid.
Yeah, but you see how
Because
that's not
everybody
as
was trying to do Tim and Eric at that time, right? It was like, dude, this is what the kids love.
Yeah.
They love Tim and Eric.
Yeah.
It's weird. Nobody. We're gonna have pet rats as your.
The problem is the kids aren't the ones eating Jimmy John's all the time. It's regular old people and stuff, you know, like normal people who don't get Tim and Eric humor.
yeah. Well, nobody likes rats when it's associated with food.
Yeah.
It's just weird. Yeah.
Go on.
No, I was just saying how rats took Quiznos down, but a pedophile couldn't take Subway down. That's
Yeah.
what I mean. Like how what a staple Subway figured out a way to be like, no, we're
They're like,
staying
oh my
on.
God, your spokesman's a pedophile. $5 footlongs. They're like, okay, we'll forgive you.
It's not even good, dude.
Dude, you like yoga mats in your bread? $5 footlongs.
Although it was the best, like as far as fast food went, it was the best thing we had in my town.
Yeah, for a
growing up.
while.
Yeah,
For a long
time. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's like, I'm eating healthy. You're
Yeah, I
like,
remember
you're
that.
not even
Yeah,
eating
yeah.
meat, dude. Like,
yeah.
what are you talking about?
No, it's what Chipotle is the new one where everyone considered like the new eating healthy. You got
I
to go
love
to Chipotle.
Chipotle.
Well, for a long time, I didn't know what deli meat was. Have you ever seen how they make a lot of deli meat? It's just leftover shit that they press
Meat?
into like a tube and then slice it. It's not like actual slices of turkey or whatever. It's all the trimmings and shit just compressed into a tube, and then they slice it to look like it's slices of regular meat.
That's worse than anything I heard Jimmy Savile did. Jimmy Savile.
Ugh, what a creep that guy was.
What a creep, dude. Humping dead people.
Dead people, man. That's just that's evil.
And you know what's so crazy about? You know he got molested, and you wonder if he would have looked like that if he didn't get diddled. Right? Like it's really
He probably would have never had the drive to succeed, honestly.
So thank you, pedophile.
yeah, we would have never heard of him.
Thank you, pedophile, for pushing him into greatness.
That is evil, though, isn't it? Self-perpetuating. You know,
Yeah.
kind of you pass on that demonic entity or whatever.
But you
someone
have
else.
to like hate yourself to have that haircut.
Yeah, or it's like what you said. You know, it's like, hey, I can have this haircut and still just do whatever I want.
Pull chicks.
Or 5-year-olds, whatever you do.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
This one or the Raiders owner Mike Davis haircut?
Mark Davis.
You going with the Mark Davis haircut over
No, I mean,
Jimmy Savile?
Savile's worse.
Really?
It's close.
I couldn't even
It
pick
is
one.
close.
I couldn't
but
even
one's
pick
a prolific child molester. The other one runs a football team horribly.
Yeah.
Well, one of them was just long hair.
One
honestly.
destroyed lives and the other one destroyed a football franchise.
Yeah, yeah.
What's worse?
I mean, but he seems to be. I think he's going to sell soon. I think he wants to get out. He's tired of.
God,
these
he's ugly,
memes.
ain't he?
Look at that.
What is that look? What is that haircut? Just make it one line. Just make it a rainbow on my forehead.
What do you think he's thinking with that?
I'm so rich. Who cares?
I wonder if he's like hiding his hairline.
He's
or
like,
something.
listen, I'm going for this look where my shirt matches my skin color, and I just want to have a haircut that just really lets everybody know I don't give a fuck.
Here's what I'm going for. Have you ever seen a piece of bacon before? Because that's just what. I just want to be totally pink throughout.
And these chicks are like, oh my God, he's so cute. I just totally want him on top of me.
You know that if you could read the girls' texts that hang out with that guy, they'd be like, "I'm with creep."
Oh my
faces."
He's
God,
with the
yeah.
black chick now?
Oh, nice.
Yeah, good for you.
Look
See,
at
that's the
her.
thing about white guys. No matter how old you are, there's a black chick that will fuck you.
Look at her.
She's
dude.
hot.
So hot.
Damn. She was like Iman or whatever who
Yeah,
used to go out
dude.
with David Bowie.
Yeah,
Well,
dude. Yeah. So then they were trying to say that the white chick right there was his girlfriend, and that's not true.
That's too bad for him.
Too bad for
she's
her.
hot, too.
Because she'd be like, I'm rich, bitch.
Wait, go to that second one. Actually, what that black chick's got like a baby or something. There.
Yeah,
What
they
does
had a
that say?
baby together.
Got a
Oh, that's
baby?
their baby together.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Dude, that's how you anchor it down. Look how dark she is. Look how light he is.
She's 38.
She's
Massive.
a doctor.
Doctor? She don't even
No,
need it.
no way. Really?
Yeah.
Doctor? I wonder what kind of doctor.
Dr. Alexander and a new baby.
I wonder if she's a doctor.
Good for
in
you,
the way that-
Mark. Good for you.
Look at like somebody posted that Chappelle Show meme where it's just hoarding his cash. That's great.
All right, guys.